Good afternoon, racing fans, and welcome back to the channel, proudly sponsored by Oddschecker. Okay, so we have now completed day one, day two, and day three of our Cheltenham Festival previews, and we are now heading into the final day, Gold Cup Day, and we have a very, very special guest with us. Henrietta, thank you so much for joining the podcast. How are you?
Very well. Evening to you all.
It must bring you back some good memories this time of year, Hen. Obviously, with the likes of Best Mate winning three of the Gold Cups. Do you get that sort of nostalgia this time of year?
Oh yeah, I do think back a lot. Um, and sometimes I think to myself, am I really going to go on Friday? Is it going to be too painful to see his record equaled?
Oh wow! I mean, it's a record that's been standing for a long, long time now, isn't it? And I must say, you and Best Mate are responsible for getting myself into racing. So my career within racing punditry and tipping all started from when I was young, growing up in Cheltenham, and Best Mate was winning his Gold Cups. Now, Hen, you can see one of my wingmen there, Mr. Jamie Wren. You are a massive Best Mate fan yourself. We've been really excited about this, haven't we, Jamie?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm in racing absolute royalty here. I can't believe it. I've met Henrietta Knight. I was there in 2003 when Best Mate, my first Cheltenham festival, as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, uh, to see Best Mate won his second Gold Cup. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And I'd like to thank Henrietta Knight for that. It was one of the best experiences I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, that's
Unbelievable.
lovely to hear.
Unbelievable. And I thank Henrietta for tonight.
Love that, Jamie. I love that. And Scotty, how are you doing? And great to have you on. I know you've taken some time out from a wedding you're attending to be here, but you also didn't want to miss Henrietta joining us for this episode.
Oh, mate, I'm sitting in the hotel kind of reception area or the lobby, and everybody's here, all the family are here. But no, like you said, I wouldn't miss this for the world. I mean, meeting Hen and obviously being on with you lads is brilliant. And like Jamie said, it's just proper nostalgia. I got into racing in 2010, but how many times I've watched the replay of Best Mates third Gold Cup, and I'll always remember the commentary from Simon Holt when Best Mates held in there by Harbour Pilot Paul Carberry. That's honestly, it's one
Then
of
they
my
used to
favourite.
say 3 Gold Cups.
Well,
Three
there you
Gold
go,
Cups.
go.
Honestly, it's just racing's my life, and it's something that I'll always treasure is those memories, even though I never seen it from first hand. But it's an absolute privilege to be on with Hen tonight, and yeah, really looking forward to having a catch up and talking some good racing for the rest of the week on Gold Cup Day. So yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, fellas. Well said. Like we said, Henrietta, we really do appreciate you joining us here. And like I said, this is where it all started for me and Jamie and for Scotty. So really glad to have you on board. I actually remember, Henrietta, I met you when I was I must have been 11 or 12 years old at Cheltenham. And I've got a book that you signed for me still to this day. And I've got loads of pictures of Best Mate. So we will get into a few questions for you when we get towards the Gold Cup. But what we do, Henrietta, we go through the races one by one on Friday. The lads give their opinion, I give mine. We see if we can maybe find a few winners along the way as well. And also thanks to everyone that is tuning in to the podcast. Right then, let's start off, shall we, with the Triumph Hurdle. We've got East India Dock at 2-1, Lulamba at 9-4, Hello Neighbour at 5-1, Palladium, the 1.4 million pound purchased for Nicky Henderson, and any price you like for the remainder. Jamie, we are going to start with you with your fancy here. Who has taken your eye for this year's Triumph? It looks relatively competitive now, certainly at the front of the market.
Yeah, I'm very surprised at the moment, Joe, what Joseph O'Brien might be doing with the horse that I really, really fancy against the two English horses in the East India Dock and Lulamba. She might be going to the Mayor's Novice, which is a shame. The one horse I can have here, and I backed it the last two times, is Hello Neighbor. I think it needs to be planted on the line. I've backed it the last two times at Christmas and at the Dublin Race Festival when we were there. I know Scotty, who's put up East India Dock for a long, long time, and fair play to him. He's got a decent price. But I'm a hype man. I'm a sucker for a hype horse, and I think Lowland will win. I think it's a really good horse. Look, the form ain't great, but I'm a sucker for hype, and I'm with Lulamba. Each way, if Gallo Dame decides to come here, I will be with Gallo Dame. But delay, I think, of the meeting, to be honest with you, is Hello Neighbour. I don't think it will stay, but I'm a big Lulamba fan, yeah.
Do you think with Lulamba, Jay, my only quibble, I suppose, at this point is he hasn't put in like a top class performance yet. So if he is to do it, he has to do it on the biggest stage, doesn't he, on the Friday of the Gold Cup? Any concerns there, or do you think he's
No,
going to be
no.
fine? Say no more, Lulamba for Jamie. Scotty, you are a huge fan of East India Doc here. You've made it no secret what you think of the horse. Please make your case.
Yeah, Joe. I mean, I've been colours to the mast for a very long time, since the November meeting at Cheltenham when he won that very good juvenile trial. I mean, Stencil's favourite for the Boodles right now. All the form kind of ties in with East India Doc. I'm not a big fan of Stencil, but that doesn't really take anything away from how good East India Doc's been. His figures have proven at speed figures. He's run up to a rating that would have won the last 10 to 15 Triumph hurdles. If he would have ran up to his mark that he ran on trials day again in the Triumph hurdle, he would have won the last 15, like I said, beating the likes of Defi de Soyal, Connor, Zarkanda, all of those good horses, Ivanovic, Gorbatov, even Losty Mouth he would have beaten if he still runs up to the same mark around the last day. I'm just massively keen on him. I think Lulamba is very much an unknown quantity still. I think he's former Mondo Man, and then Mondo Man was disappointing the last day in the Adonis at Kempton, but he's taken that with a pinch of salt. Lulamba visually was very impressive at Ascot. But for me, I'm just convinced East India Doc's a very good horse. I don't care even if they hold him up and be a bit more patient the next day. But yeah, I just think he's the most likely winner, Joe. And going into what Jamie said there about the Irish form, I think they were all pretty bunched at the finish there at the Dublin Racing Festival, the likes of Hello Neighbour, Lady Vega Allen. The one to take from the race, I agree with Jamie, is Galileo Dame. If she runs in the Mare's Novice, I think 6.5 is one of the bankers of the meeting in that race. But if Galileo Dame turns up there, I think it turns into a very difficult race for 6.5. So I'm massive on East India Doc. And if Galileo Dame does defect to the Mare's Novice, I think she's got every chance. So that's the angle I've got on the juveniles this year.
Perfect. So it's Lulamba for Jamie. It's East India Doc for Scotty. Hen, I'm actually a fan of Hello Neighbour. I'm starting to come round to that graded form now from the Dublin Racing Festival. I think he's going to go out in front and prove hard to catch. But with us obviously split in the field, can you give us a little bit of clarity on who you might think will be the winner of the Triumph this year?
I'm very much an East India Doc person.
Fantastic.
The fact that he's had the experience too, and he's run at Cheltenham.
How important from your Stansted would that be, that Cheltenham form? It can't be matched anywhere else, Hen, can it? Considering there's not too many courses that are undulating like Cheltenham, especially for these juveniles. It's a hard place to come, surely, isn't it, for your first attempt on the course?
Yes, and if you act around Cheltenham, it's a big bonus.
Excellent. So he just wins, does he, Hen? He just wins.
He just wins.
Yeah, perfect. There we go. We've heard it first. Right then, we're going to move on to the county hurdle. Now, this is a very difficult race to work out. I quite like last year's winner, Absurd. I think the county hurdle is becoming a much more classy race in time. The fact that they've kept him fresh for this race probably suggests to me that he's going to be good enough to go on and make it back-to-back wins. Kopek Demi is in here, a bit of an unknown quantity for Willie Mullins. Hen, have you had a look at the county hurdle yet, or have you not really?
I'm not much good on these handicaps. I've got a few ideas for the Barton Pipe, but
perfect.
I'm not much good. I better leave this to you boys because you're the experts.
I don't know about experts, but Scotty, you might be able to help us out here. Who wins the county hurdle for you?
Jin, there's only 2 races I haven't really had a massive opinion in, if I'm being honest. The Kim, you're in this one. I do think Jamie made a very good point the other day. Whoever Paul Townend rides in this race for Willie, I think that's a massive pointer. If he rides Absurd, I think he may go off close to favourite. Cargeese was a horse I was interested in the mare for Willie again, but I believe she's running in the mare's hurdle. I've got it down to 2 where I've got half an eye. One's an obvious one, potentially, which could be Ethical Diamond, another one of Willie's horses, who I think still got massive room for improvement on his mark. Ran in the juvenile hurdle last year. Sorry, ran in the Grade 1 last year behind Ballyburn at the DRF, and very similar profile to many handicap hurdlers. Absurd, I think, ran in a similar race and won at the county hurdle last year. So if Paul Townend rides Ethical Diamond, I'd be interested in that horse. But this could be a crazy shout. The horse that finished second to Ballyburn in the Turners or the Gallaghers last year was Jimmy Desoy,
yeah,
who we haven't seen since Punchestown last year. ran on the 4th of May, ran a very respectable race, second in the Grade 1 at the festival, like I said. I think Jimmy Desoy is off a very winnable mark. And if he turns up in something like the County Hurdle and had maybe Danny Mullins riding, potentially as like a second string for Mullins, he'd be one I'd have half an eye on. But I'm still kind of like a bit 50-50 on where I want to put my kind of colours on the mast at the moment. I'm going to keep my cards close to my chest, but they're the two that I've got half an eye on, Ethical Diamonds and Jimmy Desoy.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Scotty. Jamie, I've got a pretty good idea that you quite fancy one in this race. You sort of hinted at one a few times. Give us the winner, please, buddy.
Look, if Carrigeese goes here, yeah, I've been on her all year, but looks like now she's going to the Mayor's Hurdle. Word on the street now, Kopek to me, the 5-time runner in France is coming here, and now it's favourite at 4-1. Look, Mark Walsh is going to be on it because he's retained by JP McManus. You can't knock the form. You can't knock the mark 136. I think Paul Town is going to be an absurd again. Look, it was heavy ground last year in the county. The better the ground, the better his chance. It's only up £6 from last year. Exactly what Scotty says. If Paul Town is an absurd, £6 higher, it's going to win. So it's absurd for me.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like we said, last year at the Cheltenham Festival, Paul Town had one ride, didn't he, in a handicap, and it was absurd. I think that told us the story, but no one really clocked until sort of after the festival. Okay, then, moving on to the Mayor's Chase. Dino Blue is your 13-8 favourite. Allegory Devassi at 5s. Only by Night for Gavin Cromwell at 11-2. Spindlebury, who you like, Jamie, at 13-2. Bioluminescence unlikely to turn up here. We've got some nice horses in the names of Telepathique and Bride's Hill, offering plenty of good form there as well. Hen, have you had a look at the Mayor's Chase at all?
Now, Dino Blue to win and Telepathic each way.
She's a lovely jumper, isn't she? Telepathique for Lucy
she
Wadham.
Is. She does. She jumps beautifully. I've really liked her this season.
Do you think that in this day and age, Henrietta, as well, we get too obsessed sometimes with backing Irish horses over English horses, but the likes of Telepathique, for example, she travels well, she jumps well, she looks like she really enjoys her racing. Do you think that's why she might be a horse that's sort of going under the radar a little bit, with all due respect as well at the same time to Lucy Wadham, who's a brilliant trainer?
I would agree with you there. And she's a trier and she loves it, and she could definitely be placed, I'm sure.
Yeah, good price as well for us to find out at 14-1. Jamie, what about yourself?
To me, no offense to Telepathic, it's being Irish biased. Sorry, Henrietta, that we're going to be Irish biased here. It's a 2-horse race, so it's the favourite Dino Blue. And look, the way it's going to be, look, there's no rain forecast. They're watering at the moment. I want Henrietta's opinion after that about watering. But no, I think it's between Dino Blue, who is the form in the book. Last year was second, obviously, to Limerick Lace. I think the better the ground, grabbing Cromwell's mare. Look, the last novice to win it was Calvary for Willie Mullins. I think the only danger to Dino Blue is Only by Night, and the better the ground, the better the chance for Only by Night. I said before on our channel that 12-1 each way I'm on, and the Mayor's Chase, and I'm happy with my position.
Yeah, she's a gorgeous mare as well. She travels so sweetly. Scotty, who you on in the Mayor's Chase?
I was like you, Joe. I was on Bioluminescence from a long way out, but Gavin Cromwell was almost confirmed that she's not going to run here because the ground's not going to be in her favour. She needs softer, heavy ground. So I've had to reassess. I think Dino Blues doesn't get as much respect as she deserves. I think she's a very solid horse, and I know she didn't beat Limerick Lace last year. Limerick Lace has regressed this season, so I can't have her in my mind. I think Dino Blue's the most likely winner, and I probably wouldn't have a massive opinion as in for a win perspective. Spindleberry, I believe, is going to run in the Powers Gold Cup, the old Powers Gold Cup at Fairy House, so I think she's going to bypass Cheltenham. So I haven't got her into my factoring for a selection for the race. I may get booed off the board for this, but honestly, Joe, I think if she turns up on one of her 2 out of 10 days, Allegory Devassi at 6-1 is a good trade bet. Jamie, wow. I know I'm almost really murdering myself for saying that. I think she would potentially run a good race. She's just an absolute nutcase. She's like the female Gaelic warrior. I've said it before. If she turns up on her day, she could turn up and blow them away, or she could get pulled up. But aside from her, everyone seems to be saying Bryce Hill. Bryce Hill's had so many chances this season.
Yeah.
I know she likes better grounds. She's had ground that I think suits her in the UK when she's ran for Gavin Cromwell. But it would be towards the end of the meeting. And the only other horse that would interest me is from an each way perspective, where I think the form's not massively terrible, is She Could Be Anything for Gordon Elliott. I think she's a very respectable horse who jumps pretty well. She stays. I think she came from way off the pace in one of her early runs in the season, and she got home very strongly. I think if they ride her with a bit of patience and she gets into a jumping rhythm, I think 25-1 could be a nice each way price. So it would be a very kind of tentative selection, but if I was really having a bet in a race, I'd have a very small each way on She Could Be Anything. And it's one of the races at the festival where I'd not have a massive interest, and I'd just probably put my feet back up and watch it.
I was going to say, it sounds like we'll be waiting for the day to get your genuine selection for this race by the sounds of it, Scotty, to be honest. Okay, right, we'll swiftly move on to the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. Hen, I have my first runner at Cheltenham here. I'm a part owner of a lovely horse called Wendigo, so I'm hoping that you're going to be on side with our Jamie Snowden horse here. But we have final demand at 2-1. Not sure whether he's going to turn out here. Yellow Clay at 7-2. The Big Westerner, she is a beautiful mare. She's related to Stay Away Faye, who's obviously won this race previously. Got Jasmine DeVoe, seems to struggle in the jumping department. But as we mentioned off air, Hen, you are now one of the wingmen and we've obviously got wingmen running here for Gordon Elliott. But who takes your fancy?
Well, as an outsider, I rather like Wingman, actually. I know he's got Wingman and the Yellow Clay in it with the same ownership, hasn't he?
Yes.
But when I had a sneak trip over to see Gordon last week and see the horses, yes.
Okay.
And they were both out on exercise, these two, and I got some photographs of Wingman. I just rather fancy him.
Yeah, okay, excellent. I wonder if they were working them together to figure out if they're going to send the Yellow Clay to the intermediate trip and then keep Wingmen for the Albert Bartlett. So he ran well as well at the DRF, didn't he? To be fair to him, lads, do you fancy Wingmen at all?
Oh, I'm all over Wingman.
Oh, here we go. Group bet incoming.
Henrietta tonight, if she wants to expand on, she saw Wingman go up the Galopin Gordon Elliott and Cullentra, let us know. No, all jokes aside, I'm on at 20-1, Joe. It's now 10-1 for the Albert Bartlett. As I said to you before, on the Thursday last year, I was there at Punchestown. It won the bumper at 20-1, and the ground was quick at Punchestown. The better the ground, the better its chance.
You
Obviously,
think so, yeah.
Final Demand is a huge player, obviously, in the Turners. Regardless of Final Demand is going to be in the first three in the Turners, regardless. Sure. Scotty, I think, will back me up here. I think this horse is a massive chance, and there's no rain forecast. They're going to irrigate the thing. It doesn't matter. I don't think it's going to rain on top of the irrigation, unfortunately, for that. But no, I'm all over Wingman here, and I think he'll win.
Excellent. And Scotty, are we going to have a full house of wingmen, are we?
It's funny, Jay, because like Jamie said there, I didn't expect him to say that. I've slowly started coming around to Wingmen in the past couple of weeks. He's
excellent.
I remember being in my first ever festival, and it was very heavy ground that day. It was the rain came, and when Bertie's Dream won the Albert Bartlett, you just need a horse that gallops, and a horse with experience that doesn't know how to quit. I know Wingman was well put in his place by Final Demand and the Nathaniel and Lacey, but I just loved the way he ran that day. And I thought the step up and trip again, going further. I got it the wrong way around. I thought the Yellow Clay would be the Albert Bartlett horse and Wingman would be the kind of Martin Pipe horse.
Sure.
But they kind of swapped distances this year. But Wingman, for me, is a horse who is prone to a mistake. I thought the first time he ran over his hurdles, he jumped a bit right. But the more he races, the more I'm impressed by him. He seems to jump a bit straighter. The more he goes with experience. I think if push comes to shove and a lot of horses have cried enough, I think Wingmen will be one of the ones that will be there at the end battling for a place. He reminds me very much of Sandor Clegane in his novice campaign, where he seems to find off the bridle and he just seems to want to go further. And for me, I think he's a cracking each way bet. I've also had a couple of plays in the race. I backed the Big Western months ago. I think she's a very impressive mare. I know mares haven't got a good record in the race, but if there's a horse that's got a bit of class in the race, she potentially could win. I know that Henry the Bromhead has said that she's very ground versatile, so I'm confident that she'll run well. And the only other one in the race that I backed at a massive price, because I just love backing Willie Mullins as outsiders, like the Nice Guy won plenty of years ago at 22 to 1 when he won in 2022 or 2023. I backed Fishery Lane at a big price.
Interesting.
I think he's got some decent form in the book. He was very disappointing a couple of runs ago. Then he followed up and he was impressive the last day. I think Sounds Victorious was the one that I was looking at, but I think he's very ground dependent. I think he needs a bit of soft to heavy ground in the description. Whereas I think Fishery Lane's the other way around. I think he's very ground versatile. So for me, I'd be very keen on Wingmen and Fishery Lane at prices. But it's the Albert Bartlett. Anything to bloody win the race, Joe, to be honest with you. So they'd be the couple of darts that have at the race.
Yeah, fair enough, Scotty. Well, again, for me, quick mention, I've got to mention the Wingman, and we're all obviously going to be getting on board with him now. I have a massive soft spot for the Big Westerner. She's become one of my favourite horses this year. She's big, she's beautiful, she travels well, she's a great jumper, lovely to look at, and she won us a nice pocket up the over Christmas at Limerick as well. Yeah, exactly, that's it.
Yeah,
Well, like
but
I said,
see what that was much softer ground there.
I think
Thank you, Henrietta. Thank you, Henrietta. She's absolutely no chance.
don't do that to me.
I think great big mare like she is, and she's gorgeous, but I think the ground will be too quick for her.
Oh well,
Yeah.
Henrietta, looking at her now in Limerick, I'm going to ask your opinion. Would you see her as a future Gold Cup horse or future, on the soft ground?
Well, I thought with that day I saw her win. I watched that race at Limerick. It looks as though she wants a soft ground.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope she handles the faster stuff now, because I have
Listen to the trainer, Joe.
I know. Well, that's the thing.
Just to throw one in. Do you remember after the Challow Christmas? The first thing I texted to you after that race at the Challow Hurdle, I said to you, get Windigo in the Albert Bartlett.
Yeah, there we go. Well, look,
I think. Because he's
Henrietta laughing here now, and she'll say, "What's my nickname?" Everyone calls me in the local Price Wise. Who did Price Wise tip? Tom Segal?
Wendigo.
Well,
there you go.
just to say, he's with a very, no disrespect to Jamie Snowden, he's with a trainer that doesn't get much respect in the top grade ones.
Yeah,
he's got festival winners. He's won it with the likes of Present View in the novices handicap.
Yeah.
He's had winners. Was it You Wear It Well?
You Wear It Well. Yeah, in the Mayor's Novice. That's right.
He's a bit like an old-fashioned Ferdy Murphy. He always used to pop up with a random winner you never expected. Wendigo definitely has a chance in this race.
Well, there we go. Look, I'm glad you're all backing me up there with Wendigo, because we have him entered. Obviously, he finished second to the New Line in the Challow. A real underestimated ride by Gavin Sheehan, because Wendigo found the pace a little bit quick early on, and people were sort of suggesting that he may have been struggling at the time, but he didn't panic at all. He just sat there, let Wendigo go about his business, and that then enabled him to stay on well at the finish. And now he's going to be going up to 3 miles, and looks like he's going to absolutely love it. He's by a horse called Great Pretender. Great Pretender has had the likes of Lossiemouth, Benny Deju, Grenadine, Pretty Zig, loads of graded winners. And I think hopefully Wendigo can add another graded win to the sire there as well. Right, we're going to leave the Gold Cup till last, actually, and we're going to go on to the Hunter's Chase. Hen, did you ever have a runner in the Hunter's Chase?
I never did. I had a lot of point-to-point winners. I never had many Hunter's Chase horses ever. And I have to say that I have got no opinion on this race whatsoever, because I have not looked at it. I don't know. I think it's a great race, but I just don't know anything about these horses.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. Well, what we'll do, Hen, we'll go over to Jamie, who's got a really strong fancy in this race.
Oh, there's nothing going to be the Angels Dawn for, I think, Sam Curling, is it?
Curling, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I see a lot of people saying that there was a JP wanted to buy what I will something, whatever.
Will it go ahead?
I will go ahead, yeah. And people are forgetting about an each way horse called Roy Hill in the race. One beat, it's on the line at Naas in the big Hunter's Chase there before after the DRF. But no, the form is there, Joe. Angels Dawn won a Grand National try around Fairyhouse. No, sorry, it didn't. It fell and it would have won. It won the Kim Muir beat Stumptown, who's favourite now for the cross country. It would have been second last year to who's now going to be supplement for a Gold Cup in Gavin Cromwell's. I know the way you're thinking. Yeah, it's going to win. 8-1, I backed it earlier in the season. She's a mare, and she's going to win. Yeah, I'm all over Angels Dawn. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I must admit, you sold me on this mare for a long time, so I can't add anything because everything you've told me is what has me leaning towards her as well. Scotty, who wins the Hunter Chase? Are you with Angel's Dawn like me and Jamie?
I've got massive respect for her. I wouldn't want to take her on, Joe, but I'm going to be 100% honest. I've got massively no opinion in the race, so I'm going to
That's
pass.
fine. No worries at all. Right then, the final race before we look at the Blue Ribbon Gold Cup is the Martin Pipe Handicap Hurdle. Now, Hen, you said you've got a couple of fancies in this race. I'm very interested to see who's on your radar.
No, I just got the one. I just love that Woodhull, how you pronounce her name.
Excellent. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I fell in love with her at Gordon's last week too, and I think they all think a lot of her. I hope she goes in that race because she is in several handicaps. But I just think she's a smashing mare.
Yeah, I think Gorda has just come out and said that the Martin Pipe is going to be the target. They were considering supplementing her for the Mare's Hurdle, which I suppose suggests that she's a top quality horse. What Woodoo does have, as you said, Hen, is Cheltenham form, and it's absolutely golden, I suppose, for the Cheltenham Festival. Jamie, are you with Hen and Woodoo?
There's a few in here, Joe. Obviously, the obviously I said earlier about the county, the high horses, the Kopek to me, it's a favourite for both the county and the Martin Pipe. The two horses I really fancy in this, Barrett. Obviously Carafon ran in the grade one. It was up in the bandwagon that day when Kopek, the board won the grade one. You look back on last year's run with Ballyburn and Slade Steel and Absurd won the county. Slade Steel won the Supreme. Ballyburn won the whatever. The one horse there, he was starting to really fancy for us, and he owns Brighton Football Club, and he's a big gambler. And because it was what 6 or 7 last year in the Triumph, I think Bunting has the
Ooh,
right chance in this.
interesting.
A step up and trip. All like Henrietta might agree with me. I think all Triumph hurlers are stairs eventually when they grow up. They're only juveniles at the time, and they grow up and they stay further. It was second at Clonmel behind Beckett Rock, first round of the season, got a nice mark. Um, it's 16 to 1 at the moment. It won't be 16 to 1 at the day. Look, it all depends on Kopek to me if it comes here. Carafon has a chance, but I'm all over Bunting to win this race.
Love that, Jamie. Nice price there for you as well. Scotty, who wins the lucky last at the Cheltenham Festival? Who are people going to get their money back on?
I'm kind of with Hen here, Joe. I thought Wadu from a long way out was my most likely winner. The form has worked out fantastically well when Joyeuse she beat us Cheltenham. Has come out and won the big handicap since. I thought she was definitely the one to be on. I think a lot of the Trudies are on Ante-post at big prices. I'm very much looking forward to seeing her run. The horse I've backed is the horse that you put me onto because I'm a big fan of him as well, and that's the Enabler for Gigginstown, who have had
Yes.
winners in this race before. They won it with the likes of Des Champs. They won it with Blow by Blow, Champagne Classic. He's got some very solid form in the book, and earlier in the season, I think it was even Navin on Ace. So I keep on saying I get them confused. He was second in the race, he was ahead of the likes of Work Ahead, who's almost a single figure price for the Supreme novices. I just thought if he's off a decent mark here, the Enabler, and I think if he got into a decent rhythm in the race, I think he'd be very hard to beat. To be honest with you, Gordon Elliott's got a good hand in the race, like I said, but I think it could be potentially be between the two of them. I back both Wadu and I back the Enabler, but for me, the Enabler gets my vote just, and I think he could potentially be a horse who could be a decent chaser next year, could be competing in graded races, and could maybe be like an RSA or an Arca horse next year. I'm very keen on him.
Yeah, look, I'm exact echo what you said there, Scotty. And like you said, Gordon Elliott also won it last year with better days ahead as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
What I look for is a nice sort of stay-in chaser in the making. I think that has Enabler written all over him. I think he's a beautiful horse. He might be a walk in the park as well. I'd have to check that, but they seem to do quite well when they go chasing too. So Enabler for me, Enabler for
He
Scotty.
is a walk in the park. You're correct.
He
Yeah.
is. Okay, brilliant. I am all over the Enabler as well.
And they won't be Bunting it. Go
And
on
they
then.
might not be Bunting, and then Hen is on Wadu. So hopefully we've got the winner in there somewhere anyway. Right then, let's move on to the main event of the entire week. And Hen, this must bring back some incredible memories for you. And, Galopin Des Champs is going to try and emulate what Best Mate did here. Do they have any resemblance apart from the fact that obviously Galopin is trying to do what best mate's done, but it really shouldn't go underestimated by the public, this sort of feat, should it?
No, this Galopin is a fantastic horse. I've loved him from day one, and I've seen him quite a few times at Willie. I think he is gorgeous, and the lad who looks after him, he's always thought of him as a Gold Cup horse, and he was right because he's won it twice now.
Sure.
But Adam thinks the world of him. But he's not very like Best Mate. He's a different type of horse. But he's got the amazing consistency, hasn't he? And he just gallops and he stays. Well, I don't know where all these staying chasers have got to now. They don't seem to last the extra 2 furlongs up that hill.
Sure.
And he rarely does. I do love the horse. Obviously, it'll be bittersweet if he wins again as regards equaling Best Mate's record. But on the other hand, if anything's going to be equal Best Mate, I'd like it to be him.
How does it feel, honestly, like that there's a horse that is going to possibly, match the feat of Best Mate? Does it give you any I mean, do you want this to happen? It might sound like a silly question, or
It's a sort of silly answer, really, sort of half and half.
okay.
I love this horse, and I think he deserves to win it again. But I sort of half quite like Best Mate being the only one that's won 3 in this sort of
Yeah.
in these last 50 years.
Yeah, I mean, because he was just exceptional, and I think with Best Mate, he is the people's horse. I'm fortunate enough to be born and bred in Cheltenham, and anywhere you go in Cheltenham, if you turn your head somewhere, you can see a little picture of Best Mate, all the silks. You get to see some form of Best Mate. He's on all of the buses. He's on all of the public transport. It's just amazing, amazing to see.
And
Now,
he's got his statue there, and he's got the
exactly.
enclosure.
Exactly. And this is honest God's truth. He got me into racing. I used to stay off school to go and watch him race and all sorts of things. It really was the making of where I am now within horse racing punditry. And like we said, Jamie was the same. It really got you into it as well. Scotty, big fan of Best Mate too. So it's just it's just amazing to see that there's the opportunity for a horse to try and match what he did. Would you think Galopin Des Champs, from what we've seen, because everyone's saying it is a foregone conclusion that he's going to beat the current field? Is it as straightforward as that, Hen? Obviously, he's classy, but this is a 3 mile, 2 furlong, grade 1 steeplechase around Cheltenham, the pinnacle of racing. Is it really going to be that straightforward for Galopin?
I don't think there's anything to touch him to this year. I think unfortunately, it's a disappointing race in many ways. And I said it earlier in the week. I think it is disappointing that they take away some of the horses that could run in the Gold Cup and have been untried at 3 miles too, where the people have sort of chickened out of the situation, have put them in the round air. And I'd love to see them, having a crack at the Gold Cup. I mean, there's only one real championship race, in my opinion, and I know that the round air is a grade 1 now. But to me, it hasn't got the class of the Gold Cup. And why not go to the Gold Cup?
Do you feel like it's been too diluted these days, Cheltenham, on that basis, Hen? Because you're right there. Obviously, without the Ryanair, the horses would either have to go down to the Champion Chase or go up to the Gold Cup. Do you feel like that is a bit of a bad move sort of thing,
Yeah,
really?
I'm not a Ryanair fan, even though I did have a horse called Impact who was second in
Oh,
the Ryanair, and he ran very well. And it's a fantastic race to be, a lovely race to run a horse in, but I don't think it's good for Cheltenham Festival. If I had the running of Cheltenham Festival, I'd have a 3-day festival and have them all championship races, and I had far fewer handicaps, and I'd have real championship races.
I must
Right.
I must admit, because
Fantastic.
we're the same in the sense we are massive racing fans. So from the perspective where we want to sit there and watch racing, 4 days is brilliant, but we know the reality of the situation is if that we dropped it back to 3 days, got rid of a few races, we could get these big field Gold Cups, champion hurdles again. I remember watching Rooster Booster run, for example, and there was a champion hurdle of about 22 runners, and that was through the cards every single day, and it is a big shame that we don't have that anymore. Hen, how did you come around getting Best Mate? I wish I actually knew this, but it's a question I'm going to have to ask, despite being a massive Best Mate fan.
Well, Terry and I just saw him in an Irish point to point on a very, very wet day in Waterford, and we fell in love with him. And Terry said he just had this air about him. He walked around in the mud in this paddock before the race, and Terry sort of couldn't take his eyes off him. And he watched him. He pulled up in the race. It was wet.
Well, in his point to point, he pulled up.
Yep.
Wow.
Jesus.
But Terry said you probably couldn't do that on English point to point because the stewards would all be looking at you. But I mean, he had a lovely school run, and we tried to buy him then and there, even though he pulled up. But they wouldn't sell him until he'd won. So what do they do next? Go and run him in another point to point. A few weeks later, a 2-horse race against a mare.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then I'm assuming, without dropping any numbers, then that increased his value, I guess, when you had to buy him after that race instead.
Well, they wouldn't give us any price on him anyway. They don't give you any price until you're about to sign or to shake hands.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. Fine.
The Irish shake hands, Henrietta.
Yeah.
What?
The Irish shake hand.
They do shake hands.
Yeah.
But
Can't believe he actually ran in Waterford.
It was a fantastic day, and I never forget how wet it was. And the horse, he did have an air about him, and he, even in the paddock, when the 3 Gold Cups he won, he'd walk around and sort of, I am, look at me. I'm not quite sure that Galopin's got that air about him when he walks around. He's a lovely horse, but I don't think he hits you as the most outstanding. I mean, I loved that Factor File last year. I thought he was.
Wow.
I wish he was in the Gold Cup this year. And I saw one of the previews in Ireland on Racing TV the other day with what's her name, Tony Mullins, saying he should be in the Gold Cup, and he's dead right.
For sure.
Yeah, I suppose that goes back to the options again, doesn't it? Like we said, there being too many options to avoid each other, and I suppose coming from the same yard as well. They.
I know. I mean, last year when he ran so well, I mean, everybody said, well, he's definitely a Gold Cup winner for the future, and he's not going to take it on. So anyway, there we go.
Yeah, that's exactly it, though, isn't it? And he won the John Durkan over 2 mile, 3 furlongs, 3.5, wherever it is, in Ireland, and everyone again just assumed that there was this sudden change of the guard, even though he won a race which was less than 2.5 miles, and suddenly they thought he was going to beat Galopin over 3 mile 2. It doesn't necessarily add up there.
No, but I like the way. It's interesting the way that JP's could put that horse in now.
I know the way you're thinking.
I know the way you're thinking, yes. Yeah. But it's interesting he's in it now because he's a out and out stayer.
Yes.
Yeah.
A possible Grand National horse, even, isn't he? That sort.
Well, I think they were thinking of the Grand National first before they then supplemented him. Well, what day do they supplement him?
Saturday, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I think. Yeah.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Yes.
It sounds like that's the plan as well, to be honest. From what
I know, but he would want the rain, though, wouldn't he? He does like
soft grounds, yeah.
And I suppose the issue is now, it's just another slight niggling issue, is that Aintree and Cheltenham are so close together this year. It doesn't really give the horses too much time to recover. I think sometimes that can go a little bit underestimated by race planners and things like that. We could probably do with an equal gap, at least between Cheltenham and Aintree. Punchestown, not necessarily so much, because then trainers can decide, obviously, from Cheltenham if they want to go to Aintree or Punchestown, couldn't they? I guess at the same time. But
something like one of those big races at Cheltenham takes far more out of a horse than anybody recognises, and it takes a while to recover. Even though the horses may look fresh and well at home, it probably has left its mark.
I'm going to ask a question after that.
Yeah, go for it, Jamie. Go for it.
Henrietta, you were no disrespect to you. You were criticised that time about leaving Best Mate after leaving him off when he beat was it Marlborough in the King George?
Oh yes.
Yeah, and you were criticised for leaving the horse out after to win the Gold Cup afterwards. Did he win the second Gold Cup after we beaten Marlborough? I think you set the standard that time, because you can see many a horse now being trained before Christmas, say at Christmas. Do you think you're the flagship trainer in that way, if you know what I'm trying to say, Joe?
Well, it hasn't affected Willie and Galopin, has it?
No.
He's had his 2 races around Leopardstown, and the last one was fairly close to this meeting next week.
Yeah.
But I think I did sort of set a bit of an example.
Of course you did. Yeah, I totally agree. I was in awe at you at the time. I thought, yeah, good on you.
They all said I was wrapping him up in cotton wool and
Yeah, of course they did, yeah.
I wasn't just training him for the public to see him every day. They could have a treat.
Yeah. And one question, how did you get him to jump so well?
How did I what?
How'd you get him to jump so well?
He was a natural. He was a
He
natural.
was a natural.
Even in that point when he pulled up, he does what struck Terry. He just every fence just came to him and he jumped it. Terry used to say, if a fence comes to the horse and it just meets it in its stride, then it's a very good jumper. You don't want a big extravagant jumper because you lose energy and you lose you lose ground sometimes because if they're wrong, they can't shorten themselves up.
And it was great that you let a person that I know very well. He's from Killarney, Jim Cullity, on it. I'm literally I'm from Kerry. I'm literally 20 minutes from Killarney, and it was great to see him. Obviously, that the bar in Killarney Racecourse is named after Jim Cullity, which is great to see.
You're the Kerry man.
I'm a Kerry man, yeah. I'm a Kerry man,
The
yeah.
Kerry man, yeah, absolutely. When did you realise Best Mate could be a genuine? Obviously, you went on to win 3, which is just extraordinary. I'm sure you could never have foreseen that. But when was the point when you realised, we've got a proper Gold Cup horse on our hands here? I always say as well, Henrietta, people that watch racing now, it's so different to what it was back then that I just wish everyone could go back and feel what it was like when Best Mate won his first, his second, and his third, because they were just exceptional. But when was the point that you realised how good Best Mate was? I know you said obviously from day one you thought he was a nice horse, but when did you realise you had a Gold Cup horse?
It was all Terry, really, because having ridden at Cheltenham and ridden in those races so much himself, he always thought the horse was a stayer. Wow. And the first year he ran in the King George, when AP rode him because Jim was injured, and he was beaten by Florida Pearl, Terry was not best pleased because AP rode him as though he didn't know whether he'd stay, even round Kempton.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And I can't say what Terry said to AP the next year when he came up to run. He won on him the next year.
Were you disappointed, Henrietta? No disrespect to Noel Meade. Were you disappointed that they lost to Sausalito Bay?
Yes, that wasn't one of Jim's best rides.
And look, another question. Unfortunately, foot and mouth happened that time. You'd have won Best Mate, would have won the Arkle by 20 lengths.
Well, he was odds on for the Arkle, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That was going to be my next question to Hen, because I know he ran in the Haldon Gold Cup, which Q Card very similarly used to run over that 2-mile trip. I was going to say he did Best Mate ever run in an Arkle, but I couldn't recall if he had done.
It was the foot and mouth year.
Foot and mouth year 2001, wasn't it? Before.
And Henrietta, how did he go off 7-1 for his first Gold Cup?
Well, I suppose he hadn't been seen very much, and they hadn't really clicked onto him, had they?
Yeah.
I suppose they're all just as special as each other for different reasons. But was there one of the Gold Cups which stands out to you in a sense? Obviously, the first time you're like, "Wow, we've won a Gold Cup." The third time you're like,
2003.
It's just is there any of the 3 that stand out by a minute
definitely
amount?
that last one, because it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Okay.
And the relief, it was just an amazing day. Amazing.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Henrietta. 2003, the Stand Rocked at Cheltenham. I think that is the best performance ever seen. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, probably this 203, was it?
2003
was his best race, but the 2004 to me, it was such a relief.
Magical.
Yes.
How difficult is it to get a horse to prime at that time every single year? Because we see Gold Cup winners that manage to do it once, but to get a horse back to Cheltenham so fit, so healthy, so full of himself that he can handle that 3-mile 2 gallop over and over again and repeat the performances that he did. How underestimated is that right now with regards to Galopin trying to do the same feat this year?
Well, Best Mate was a very easy horse to train because you could always judge by his work at home and whether he was happy with life and whether he was perking, looking well. And he couldn't take too many races too close together because he was much more delicate than people realised. And we just aimed him as soon as he'd finished that little spell in a race around Christmas time. And we went over to Leopardstown one year. Then he had his break and we just sort of primed him up for the one race. But he really helped us because he did everything right, and he loved the attention. And of course, so many people used to come and see him. There were no so there was no social media then. There were
Yeah.
none of these things. We couldn't have done it. We couldn't have had a meeting tonight like we're having in those days. It wasn't possible. And so everybody used to come here. So he was never left alone, the horse, and he just loved the attention, and he thrived on it.
I love that so much, honestly.
Can I ask Ken one question, Joe, please?
Of course you can, mate. Absolutely.
Just to diverse away from best mate, there was a horse who I used to absolutely adore, and that was Summersby, who
Wow, yeah.
Ken used to campaign over 2 miles. I remember being at my first festival when he was second by a short head to Sizing Europe in the Arkle. And for years, Hen, you used to campaign him over 2 miles, and you gave him a bit of a gamble, a bit of a push up and trip. And the King George, the year I think it was Corto, beat Long Run. What kind of factor do you take into having a horse like Summersby, where you think, okay, I think he ran in 4 or 5 champion chases. You tried him in one King George. What kind of thing do you see at home where you think, I'll give him a go at 3 miles and try and make him a Gold Cup horse? Or was he just an out-and-out 2-miler? I love Summersby. I just wanted to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't really know what he was really, because he was so consistent. But what he was, people don't realise, he did have a condition called kissing spines.
Okay.
And he used to make 1 or 2 falling errors in his races.
Yeah.
He threw the races away through errors. And I think because possibly the longer races were more testing on his back and things. And those nowadays they treat kissing spines, but he would have been a far better horse if he'd been in these years now, because he'd have been, although he went to Cheltenham 10 years in a row, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a fantastic horse, but he didn't really have a distance, but he had less prone to errors in a shorter distance than he was in a longer distance.
Yeah. I remember the race when he gave Masterminded an absolutely brilliant race at Ascot, and he only just got touched off. That was the race that always stands out for me, that race. So I fell in love with him that day. I just thought he's potentially a horse that could, but like you say, it was just, there was that no trip for him. He was just caught in the middle of a 2.5 miles kind of trip of horse, wasn't he? That's the way I looked at it myself.
That's right. It was a fantastic horse. And he won the Victor Chandler course at Ascot. I mean, he liked Ascot.
He did, yeah.
I know we've gone slightly off course, but as we're asking about some of Hen's other horses, I want to ask about Edredon Bleu now. Of course, when he managed to get back up to be direct route in the champion chase.
Tell us, Henrietta, direct route 1, did it?
No.
I was just walking about in circles. I don't really watch the races very well. I certainly don't hide myself in the ladies' loo, which some people think. What a place to go anyway. But I always sort of wander about, and I'm always too scared to watch. But I listened to all the commentaries, and it was a long, long wait before they gave the result of the photo.
But he for 2-miler, and he won the King George as well. He was exceptional, wasn't he? Like, you don't find many horses like him in this day and age.
Oh, he was a brilliant, brilliant horse. Yeah, he really was. But one of the best horses I ever had, and he never showed it because he injured himself, was a horse called Impact.
I was going to ask you about Impact. Another one for
was it second? Was it second to Farnmore that year, Hen?
Was it what?
Was it second? Was it second in the Ryanair that year? Wasn't it?
He was second in the Ryanair. He was second in the
This, that, and Tudor. Was it this, that, and Tudor, or was it?
I can't remember who beat him in the Ryanair that year. He's very naughty at the start, and he got rid of AP at the start.
Yeah, I remember that.
You're right, Jamie. I think it was Farnmore. Yeah.
And the last race he ever ran in was in the Holden Gold Cup, which he won with AP.
At Exeter.
He'd injured himself. Yeah. He had a fracture on a hind leg afterwards, we've discovered. He was just a bit lame, not very lame, but it never really properly healed, and we couldn't race him again. And he was as good as any of them.
Wow. Yeah, because he's another one I remember. Any time at my age at the time, anytime I saw any horse in the Jim Lewis colours, I just fell in love with them. And it was just incredible that he had such a knack to find such class horses that just had bags of talent that didn't necessarily show it from the get-go, but you knew it was there, and they improved a ton to become incredible horses. Best Mate and Edredon Bleu were just supremely talented.
They put me on the map. I mean, they were unbelievable. The two horses and Terry, they all put me on the map.
Incredible. It just shows how much of a team effort it is, though, doesn't it, Hen, as well? That it goes all the way from yourself to Terry to Jim to the staff that you obviously had a help in at the time as well. And
Yes, well, I was incredibly lucky. I couldn't have done it on my own, and I've, in my madness, started to train a few horses again for fun now.
I was going,
I've
I
got a
was,
very good team now.
I was going to ask you this, Hen. I'm incredibly intrigued because I know when you stopped training, I believe you still schooled horses for various trainers. Is that right?
That's right. For 9 years, I had so many horses through my hands, jumping them, which is something I very much enjoy, and helping the jockeys and the horses. And then these horses went back to their respective trainers, good trainers and good horses, and they won a lot of races. And I just thought to myself, well, it would have been rather fun to have some of these horses again and keep them here and race them. And so
Well,
what we're doing.
Can I
well,
just ask Ken one question, Joe?
go, of course.
One horse who I'm a massive fan of, because I know you've been very strongly linked with the Radfords, the owners. Handstands for Ben Pauling. I know Mick Shannon trained a lot of those horses in those colours. Are you associated to any of those horses still?
No, unfortunately, I introduced Tim Radford to Ben Pauling, and he prefers. He made a statement in the Racing Post that he prefers younger trainers. So I think age got the better of him.
Oh,
No way.
that's obscene. You
That's
can't,
obscene.
Well,
You
that's a
can't-
big mistake,
That's
isn't it?
blasphemy, no, Henrietta.
yeah,
He said that he was written in writing in the paper.
wow, I'm astonished at that.
I'm too old. I'm too old for him.
Not a, well,
You're no way in the world.
I would
Train the best horse of all time. Stop now.
absolutely, absolutely. And you won a champion chase, King
Yes.
George's. You've won everything. I'm not having that. I'm not having that.
Nah,
Whoever
not
wrote
even.
that needs to be changed.
Yeah.
Final question then, Henrietta, on that basis. You've had loads of big winners at Cheltenham, champion chases, Gold Cups, 3 Gold Cups. Now, in January, I can't remember if it's January or December, you won the bumper at Cheltenham with a horse called Precious Metal. That must have given you some serious nostalgia of having a winner back at Cheltenham again after all of these years of, leaving training, coming back. That must have been some buzz for you, as personally.
It was a buzz, and I wasn't there that day either.
Oh no, you weren't.
I went to Southall that day with a horse of my own. He won as well.
Was that Motazine who won that day?
Ottesen,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, because I've been following yours very closely, and I've been bigging you up quite a lot on Twitter as well.
Oh, bless you. You are wonderful.
I've been really enjoying following the journey. Hen, how come you are back training? Is it the love of the game? Is there more you want out of the game? Is it just something you really enjoy to do?
It's the love of the game. I sometimes wonder when I set my alarm at 4:45 every morning, am I completely mad? Especially if it's been raining and dark mornings. But there's something. If you don't get up in the mornings, if there's not something to get up for, you might as well be dead, because you've got to have an aim in life, and you've got to have a reason to be.
Well, let me tell you, when you are getting up at those times in the morning and you're doing it for the love of the game, you are giving people like myself, Jamie, and Scotty a lot of joy when we get to see your name on the race cards again. I genuinely mean that. It's an
Can I ask one
absolute
more
pleasure.
question?
Jamie, you can ask whatever you wish. I just wanted to share.
Like you said, Henrietta, there was Impact. There was a horse that I was there in 2003 in the Supreme. Inca Trail was a horse that I really liked.
Oh,
What
his
happened?
best mate's full brother.
Was
Yes,
he?
that
Was
was
he?
it, yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, he wasn't the same. He didn't have the same heart as best mate. He by the same stallion, earned Desperado, but he was he wasn't just determined as best mate. He was a good horse, but just not in the same class. And I suppose, like brothers and things, they're often different, aren't they?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Mm.
I was going to say, there's another horse who I used to really reminisce over, was Calgary Bay. He was a very similar horse. He was a Gold Cup horse, but he just wasn't quite up to the class. But he was one of those lovable horses who I always took a shine to. I used to love watching him run.
He was amazing horse. He was another one I bought for the Radfords when I was a young lady.
Did you have Racing Demon as well?
Yes,
Racing
great
Demon as well,
show.
Henry.
Yes, Racing Demon. You did.
Did you have Racing Demon as
yes,
well?
Racing Demon. Yes, that was for the Radfords as well. Yes.
Oh, Jamie, I'm gutted that you managed to remember Racing Demon before I did. I'd have loved to have asked about that.
But look, before we all start and leave this lovely lady alone, the best horse of all time is best mate, and leave her alone.
Absolutely.
Let's move on. We can't top that.
It's lovely to be with you all tonight, because you've really given me a boost. And when I could have a 4:45, well, 5 o'clock, because I give myself an extra quarter of an hour after the alarm. When I get up tomorrow morning, I just think what lovely people I've been talking to.
Honestly,
Thank
Hen,
you, Henrietta.
you've,
Thank you.
you've honestly, we've been
You've
talking
made
about
my
this.
day.
Honestly, we're very, very grateful that you've given us your time to come out and share your memories with us. And like I said, genuinely, when we see your name on those race cards again, I don't care how strong or not that form is. It's amazing to see you training again. And I tune in to watch all of them go. You've given us a lot of joy over the years. And like I said, it genuinely started with a love of the game from best mate. And Jamie
As,
and Scotty say the same.
as I was coming home one day from school, and my father goes to me, Jamie, I found one. I goes, how do you mean? I know now he lost, he said, in the Supreme. But I'm telling you now, he said, there's nothing going to be best mate in the Gold Cup. And that was
Oh,
in 2002.
fantastic.
Just
Mm.
obscene.
Wow.
It's goosebump stuff. It really is. Honestly, it's been an honor. Honestly, it's an honor to have you on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Honor.
Just to
It,
touch on
Honor.
that, I'm just going to say this. Growing up with racing, I'm in my mid-30s now, but growing up from a very young early 20s, the two trainers I looked up to and I've got massive
Henrietta,
respect
mate.
for, Henrietta and Alan King. They're my two trainers that I've got the most time for. So it's been an absolute privilege tonight to chat to you, Henrietta. So yeah, thank
Absolute
you very
pleasure.
much.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you very much.
thank you both, thank you the three of you very much indeed for inviting me, and I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks so much, Hen. Like I said, I'm actually going to send you.
Lovely.
I'm going to bombard you with pictures. I've got all sorts of best mate memorabilia, and I just want to show you. So I'm going to send it to you after as well at some point as
You
well.
can't come and see me.
I would love to. I would
I'd love to see
absolutely
it. We
love
love it. We
to.
loved it.
Please, yes. And look, we will get that arranged. Absolutely. I'd love to pay you a visit. Absolutely. Well, look, we'll leave it there then, gents. I think that's the right place.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely delighted that we've managed to have you on today, Hen. I hope our viewers really appreciate obviously the time that you've given us as well. I know you're a very busy lady. Great to see you back training. Love hearing the stories. And like I said, this is best mate is where it all started for me and my two wingmen here. And maybe wingmen, if he wins, obviously the Albert Bartlett. Don't forget we had this conversation, Hen, as well as of course. So.
We're all on wingmen.
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
man.
Absolutely. Thank
All
you
right.
to everyone that's tuned in as well. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and good luck with your betting. Responsible gambling first, please, but make sure you soak in that atmosphere. Enjoy Cheltenham because there is no greater show on turf. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you all real soon.